Can you believe someone from your own family would be capable of ripping away everything we've built? Well, that's exactly what they tried to do to me. My own son, influenced by his manipulative wife, called screaming that I should pack my bags because the coastal mansion was no longer mine. Just like that, out of the blue, as if I were just a disposable obstacle in their plans. For years, I pretended not to notice the venomous looks, the malicious insinuations, the greed disguised as concern. I let them believe they were in control, that they had won before the battle even began. But while they plotted in the shadows, I was several steps ahead, protecting my legacy in ways they never imagined. When I revealed what really happened to that property, the silence on the other end of the line was deafening. The property they negotiated, the fortune they planned to seize, nothing was what it seemed, and when the truth exploded, it was too late for them to back out. This is my story of how I turned their betrayal into a trap. Before we begin, I need your support. If you want to follow real and impactful stories like this, subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell in the all notifications option. Your subscription makes all the difference and helps this work grow and reach more people. Share this story with your friends and family. I'm sure they'll be as impressed as you will be. Stay tuned to the end because the outcome will completely surprise you. Tell me in the comments, which country and city are you watching from? Now, let's get to the story. My name is Tiana, and I never imagined a phone call could shatter years of trust in mere seconds. It was a quiet Tuesday when my cell phone rang, displaying my son's name, Marcus. I answered with a smile, perhaps expecting a dinner invitation or news about the grandchildren. What I received was a scream that pierced my soul like shards of glass. "Pack your things immediately. The coastal mansion no longer belongs to you. Do you hear? You have 72 hours to vacate. Goodbye." I froze, holding the receiver as if it could offer me some logical explanation. Marcus, my only son, the one I cradled in my arms, was expelling me from the property I loved so much. His tone was cold, calculated, devoid of any filial affection. I recognized something disturbing there. It wasn't just his voice. Behind those words lay another influence, like a ventriloquist manipulating his dummy. "There's something you don't know," I replied calmly, controlling each syllable so as not to reveal the turmoil inside me. "What? What the hell are you talking about?" he yelled, clearly irritated by my composure. He smiled, a smile no one could see through the phone call, but one that carried years of silent preparation. "You'll find out soon, Marcus. You'll find out soon." I hung up before I could respond. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from an emotion that oscillated between profound sadness and iron determination. I walked to the mansion's balcony, watching the waves crash onto the private beach. This place held precious memories, birthdays, Christmases, entire summers of laughter. Now, it had become a battlefield. The truth is, I'd been noticing changes for over a year. It all started when Marcus married Vanessa, a stunning woman on the outside, but whose eyes never truly smiled. From our first meeting, I sensed something disturbing about her. The way he assessed every object in the house, the way he asked seemingly innocent questions about values and investments, the way he subtly suggested that I should enjoy life and stop worrying about business. In the first few months, I tried to bond. I organized lunches, offered help, and included Vanessa in family decisions. She accepted everything with mechanical smiles, but I realized that every kindness was mentally labeled as weakness. During dinner, I heard her say, when she thought I was in the bathroom, "She's so naive, she makes things too easy." Marcus gradually changed. His visits became more frequent. When he did come, he seemed distracted, constantly checking his phone. Conversations that once flowed naturally became monosyllabic. Vanessa always found excuses to avoid my company. Sudden headaches, urgent commitments, unexplained malaise that magically disappeared when I left. One Sunday, Marcus brought me documents to sign, Just administrative formalities, he said, pushing papers around the table. The lawyer asked me to update some records. I picked up my pen, but something made me hesitate. I read each line carefully, ignoring his impatient sighs. These weren't mere updates. They were asset transfers disguised as accounting reorganizations. If I signed, I'd be giving up rights to properties I'd spent decades building. I need my lawyer to review this first, I said, handing back the documents. Marcus's expression hardened instantly. You don't trust me. Your own son. I trust you, dear, but I also trust in prudence. Business is business, even between family. He slammed the door. 2 hours later, Vanessa called. Her voice was sugary, venomous. Tiana, I understand your concern, but you're hurting Marcus deeply. He only wants your well-being. We're trying to protect you from future complications. Protect or control? I asked directly. There was a cold silence. Beware of unfounded accusations. Family is all we have. Exactly, I replied. That's why I won't make it easy for them to destroy what I've built. From that day on, the Cold War was declared. Marcus canceled our birthday lunch without explanation. Vanessa blocked my number on his phone, filtering all communication. When I managed to speak to my son again, he sounded robotic, repeating phrases that clearly weren't his. You're getting older. You need to rest. Let us take care of these responsibilities. But I wasn't stupid. I observed, taking note of every suspicious movement. I discovered Vanessa had a history. Before Marcus, she was involved with a widowed businessman who lost half his assets in a quickie divorce. His family tried to warn him, but she had already woven her web perfectly. I discreetly hired a private investigator named Raymond, an experienced professional recommended by trusted friends. He needed to uncover exactly what Vanessa and Marcus's plans were. The first information arrived a week later, in manila envelopes that Raymond personally delivered during morning walks on the beach. Mrs. Tiana, I've found some interesting bank transactions, he explained, handing over detailed reports. Your daughter-in-law has been consulting real estate appraisers. She's requested value estimates for all her properties, including this mansion. My stomach tightened. Keep investigating. I want to know every step. The following days brought devastating revelations. Vanessa had forged false powers of attorney, attempting to access my bank accounts. The bank thankfully blocked the attempts, but this showed the lengths she was willing to go. Even more shocking, she had convinced Marcus that I suffered from cognitive decline and needed to be declared legally incompetent. Your son has scheduled appointments with psychiatrists, Raymond informed. They want reports confirming mental incapacity before they can take full control of the estate. This was beyond all limits. They didn't just want my money, they intended to destroy my reputation, my dignity, and paint me as a senile incompetent. The pain of betrayal was now mixed with burning fury. Raymond, I need you to find out everything about Vanessa's past, every relationship, every scheme, every lie. He nodded seriously. I'm already on it, but be prepared. What I've found so far is just scratching the surface. While Raymond worked, I needed to act quickly to protect my assets. I consulted Elizabeth Morgan, a family and estate lawyer, a brilliant woman known for never losing important cases. Tiana, your situation is delicate but not irreversible, Elizabeth assessed after hearing everything. They are making crucial mistakes. Greed makes them careless. Let's use that. Together, we devised a multi-layered strategy. First, we transferred strategic properties to legally shielded trusts, inaccessible without my personal authorization. Then, we updated wills with strict clauses. Any attempt to contest them would result in complete disinheritance. The coastal mansion deserves special attention, Elizabeth suggested. It's the symbol of this war. We need to make it untouchable. We smiled simultaneously. We had the same plan in mind. That week, Marcus tried to visit me again. Vanessa accompanied him, naturally. She entered, her arrogance trailing like overpriced perfume. She sat down uninvited, crossing her legs that displayed jewelry clearly bought with money she didn't have. "We've brought you a generous offer," Marcus began, avoiding my gaze. "We'll sell the coastal mansion and buy you a comfortable apartment in the city. Smaller, more practical, no maintenance worries." Translation: "They want to stick me in a cubicle while they pocket millions," I replied coldly. Vanessa laughed, an unpleasant sound. "Don't be dramatic, Tiana. We're thinking about your comfort. This house is too big for one person. You'll hurt yourself, trip, forget things." I forget. How interesting. I remember perfectly every comma of the false powers of attorney they tried to use in my name. Vanessa's face paled slightly, but recovered quickly. "Administrative misunderstandings. You're paranoid." "Paranoid? Or finally seeing your true intentions?" Marcus stood up abruptly. "Enough. I won't allow you to insult my wife. But you allow her to destroy your mother?" I retorted, also standing up. "Marcus, when did I lose my son to that snake?" He pointed his finger at me, shaking with anger. "You lost any right to have a say in my life when you chose money over family." "I choose money. Look around, son. Look who's trying to steal, lie, forge documents." Vanessa stepped dangerously close. "Listen, old woman. You can make things easier or harder. Either way, we'll get what we want. Marcus is your only heir. Everything will be ours eventually. Why not accept the inevitable?" "Because it's inevitable that you'll pay for what you're doing," I promised, holding his venomous gaze. They left, promising legal action. I waited for the door to close before collapsing into the chair, tears finally escaping. I wasn't crying over the financial threat, but over the loss of the son I'd known. The kind, generous Marcus had been consumed by Vanessa's insatiable greed. I called Elizabeth. "Speed things up. They're going to attack soon." "We are already prepared. When they attack, they will crash into walls of steel." Raymond showed up the next day with complete files. We sat in the kitchen while he spread out photographs, documents, and recordings. "Vanessa is not who she claims to be," he began gravely. "Real name, Vanessa Cardoso. She legally changed it 5 years ago. Before that, she went by Vera Santos, and before that, Victoria Mendez." My blood ran cold. How many identities does she have? At least 3 confirmed, each one associated with strategic relationships. First, he deceived a retired investor, married him, divorced him, and took half of his fortune. Then, he seduced a widowed lawyer, convinced him to change his will, and disappeared after his death. "My God," I whispered in horror. Raymond continued to expose Vanessa's sordid past in disturbing detail. There were lawsuits dropped, charges dropped through financial settlements, witnesses who mysteriously disappeared. She was a professional predator, preying on vulnerable victims with surgical precision. How did Marcus not find out about any of this? I asked incredulously. She's meticulous. She cleans up tracks, creates plausible stories, uses charm as a weapon. When she met her son, he was emotionally fragile after a previous breakup. It was the perfect time for her to strike. Looking back, it made sense. Marcus had ended a painful engagement 6 months before meeting Vanessa. He was vulnerable, needy, seeking validation. She recognized this instantly, molding herself into the ideal partner, interested in the same things, supporting every decision, constantly praising. "Is there anything criminally usable?" Elizabeth asked, reviewing documents. Raymond hesitated. "It's hard to prove past fraud. Previous victims signed strict confidentiality agreements, but I found something better. She's planning to commit insurance fraud." This completely captured our attention. Raymond explained that Vanessa had contacted insurance brokers to increase the property's coverage, including suspicious clauses. The apparent plan involved creating accidents that would justify million-dollar claims. "If we can get solid evidence of this, we'll have grounds for criminal charges," Elizabeth concluded, her eyes twinkling strategically. I'm already working on it, but it takes time. Time is a luxury we don't have, I stated categorically. They're going to intensify their attacks. I can feel it. She was right. 3 days later, Marcus appeared with court officials delivering formal notice, a process for interdiction alleging mental incapacity. Vanessa had obtained a fraudulent psychiatric report attesting to my severe cognitive decline. The doctor who signed it didn't even know me personally. Elizabeth immediately challenged everything and requested independent expert evaluations. I voluntarily submitted to evaluations by 3 renowned experts. All confirmed my full mental capacity, some even impressed by my lucidity. Their case quickly collapsed, but it revealed absolute shamelessness. They have no limits, I commented to Elizabeth. They'll keep attacking from different angles. Leave it alone. Every attack generates evidence of bad faith. We are building a devastating legal arsenal. Meanwhile, I intensified preparations for the final blow. The coastal mansion was the centerpiece of the game. Vanessa and Marcus believed that by controlling that property, they would control everything else. I purposefully fueled this illusion. During a forced family dinner, I feigned weakness. I'm tired of fighting, I lied convincingly. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to simplify. I saw greedy hope light their faces. Vanessa leaned in with interest. Are you saying you'll consider our proposal? I consider it, but I need guarantees. The mansion means a lot, sentimentally. Sure, Marcus hurried. I'll visit whenever I want. Liar. We were both terrible actors in that farce, but I kept acting. I need to think about it. It's a huge decision. They left with too much confidence. Vanessa practically danced toward the car. I watched through the window as they celebrated prematurely. Fools, completely foolish. I called Elizabeth. They took the bait. Next phase. Next phase. Let them believe they've won. In the meantime, we're finalizing legal transfers. By the time they realize it, it will be too late. The following weeks were theatrical. I feigned reluctance, negotiated insignificant details, and allowed them to feel in control. Vanessa was already choosing decor to renovate the mansion. Marcus was discussing resale values with brokers. Neither of them knew that the property was no longer technically under my individual name. I had transferred everything to an irrevocable trust, with Elizabeth as legal administrator. I retained lifelong rights of residence and use, but the property formally belonged to the protected legal entity. Marcus could inherit eventually, but only after fulfilling strict conditions, a proven 10-year marriage, no legal proceedings against me, and ethical conduct verified by an independent committee. Vanessa would never see a penny of that wealth. The moment of revelation arrived like a storm after a deceptive calm. Marcus called excitedly, saying he would finalize the paperwork that week. We scheduled a meeting at his law office. I attended accompanied by Elizabeth, who carried a discreet briefcase. Finally being sensible, Vanessa commented upon seeing me, a fake smile plastered on her face. We sat around a massive table. Marcus's lawyer, a nervous man named Gerald, handed out asset transfer agreements. I slowly picked up my pen, everyone watching anxiously. Before I sign, I'd like to clarify something, he said calmly. Mom, please, no drama. Marcus sighed impatiently. No drama. Just facts. I looked directly at Vanessa. Did you really believe it would be that easy? That I would just hand over decades of work? His smile faltered. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Vera Santos. Or do you prefer Victoria Mendez? Which identity do you use today? The silence was absolute. Marcus looked between us in confusion. Mom, are you crazy? Who are these people? Ask your wife. Ask about the previous husband she bled financially. Ask about fraud lawsuits, fake identities, out-of-court settlements. Vanessa stood up abruptly, her chair scraping violently on the floor. This is absurd. Marcus, your mother is delusional. Elizabeth calmly opened the briefcase, scattering documents, photographs, and certificates across the table. Delirious? These are official records, name changes, marriage certificates, court proceedings, all duly authenticated. Marcus shakily picked up a document. It was Vanessa's previous marriage certificate, 5 years earlier, under a different name. Then another, even older. His face gradually drained of color. "Vanessa, is this true?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "They're manipulations, setups. She's buying fakes to separate us." Vanessa screamed desperately. "Assemblies stamped by official notaries?" Elizabeth asked acidly. "Mr. Gerald, as a lawyer, you can verify the authenticity of these documents. They all have digital verification codes." Gerald nervously examined it, checking information on his laptop. Minutes later, he confirmed it with a grave nod. "They're authentic. Public records confirm everything." Marcus dropped the papers, holding his head in his hands. "Who are you? Who are you really?" Vanessa tried to touch him, but he recoiled violently. Her mask finally slipped, revealing the calculating creature beneath. "You idiot!" she spat with pure venom. "Did you really believe I fell in love with you? With Mommy's whiny son? I wanted her money. It was always about the money. You never loved me." Marcus looked like a lost child, devastated. "Love. You were a convenient means to an end. Weak, manipulable, desperate for approval. Perfect." Those words shattered something inside my son. I saw hope die in his eyes, replaced by searing pain. Part of me felt satisfaction at the truth being exposed. Another part bled, seeing Marcus shattered. "But you couldn't," I stated firmly. "Because while you were plotting, I was protecting myself. The mansion on the coast, it's not in my name anymore. No property is—" "What?" Vanessa whirled on me, fury twisting her features. "I've transferred everything into an irrevocable trust. Marcus may eventually inherit, but only after he meets strict conditions. Conditions you will never allow him to meet." Elizabeth continued relentlessly. "Furthermore, we've uncovered your insurance fraud plans. The police have already been informed. A formal investigation is underway." Vanessa turned completely pale. "You have no proof." "Raymond," I called. The investigator entered carrying a tablet, playing recordings. Vanessa chatted with accomplices planning accidents on the properties. Discussions about how to maximize compensation. Laughter as they toasted the big hit. Every word, every detail, captured in crystal-clear audio. Legally obtained, Raymond assured. Some of it was recorded in public spaces, admissible as evidence. Vanessa tried to escape, but Elizabeth blocked the door. "Authorities have been notified. I strongly recommend that you cooperate. It may lessen the consequences." Marcus stood motionless, staring at the woman he thought he knew as if she were an unknown monster. "I'd do anything for you," he murmured brokenly. "Anything." "I know," Vanessa replied cruelly. "That's why it was so easy." That was too much. Marcus staggered to his feet, leaving the room without a backward glance. I ran after him, finding him in the hallway, slumped against the wall. "Marcus." I tried to touch his shoulder. "No!" He jerked away violently. You knew all along, and you let me make a fool of myself." "I tried to warn you. You wouldn't listen." "Because you never liked her from the beginning? I thought it was just jealousy." "It wasn't jealousy. It was maternal instinct. I felt something was wrong." "And you were right, as always." He laughed bitterly. "The perfect Tiana, always right, always in control, always winning." "Marcus, I didn't want to win. I wanted to protect you." "Protect? You humiliated me, in front of lawyers, investigators, everyone knowing I was a complete fool." "Better humiliation than losing everything to this criminal." He stared at me with red eyes, filled with pain and resentment. "I hate you now. I hope you know that. Maybe she was fake, but at least she made me feel important. You? You just make me feel small, incapable, forever in your giant shadow." Those words pierced deeper than anything Vanessa had said. "Son, I never wanted to." "Don't call me that. Not anymore." He limped away emotionally. "You can have your mansion, your funds, your victory. I don't want any of that anymore. Nothing from you." I watched my son disappear down the hallway, taking pieces of my heart with him. I won the battle against Vanessa, but I lost something infinitely more precious, my relationship with Marcus. Elizabeth appeared discreetly. "Tiana, he's going to need time. Vanessa's betrayal was devastating." "But he blames me. He blames the messenger." "For now. Eventually it will process everything correctly." "What if I don't process it? What if I lost it forever?" She didn't answer. There was no comfortable answer. We returned to the room where Vanessa waited, escorted by security. Authorities arrived minutes later, formally handcuffing her. She gave me a look of pure hatred as she was led away. "You destroyed my perfect plan, old woman. But you also destroyed your son. I hope he's worth his damned real estate." I didn't answer, because part of me feared she was right. The following weeks were cloudy. Vanessa was formally charged with multiple counts of fraud, criminal conspiracy, and attempted extortion. The evidence was overwhelming. She negotiated a plea bargain by exposing accomplices in exchange for a reduced sentence. Even so, she faced years in prison. Marcus disappeared completely. He moved without warning, blocked my number, and ignored all attempts to contact him. Mutual friends reported that he was living discreetly in a modest apartment, working quietly, and avoiding mention of family. I sat alone in the coastal mansion, a hollow victory echoing through the empty rooms. I had protected my assets, defeated the villain, but the cost was devastating. I had chosen financial security over family reconciliation. Would I have done differently if given another chance? Honestly, I didn't know. Elizabeth visited regularly, bringing legal updates. Marcus and Vanessa's divorce proceedings have been finalized. Complete annulment based on document fraud. He is officially free. Free from Vanessa, bound by resentment against me. Give it time, Tiana. Deep wounds heal slowly. What if they don't heal? What if my son hates me for the rest of his life? She sighed heavily. Then you will learn to live with this pain. But at least you will live with your dignity intact. Dignity, a beautiful word for bitter loneliness. I tried to immerse myself in philanthropic projects, travel, and abandoned hobbies. Nothing filled the void left by Marcus's absence. I discovered that luxurious mansions, robust bank accounts, and legal victories meant absolutely nothing without family to share them with. One morning, walking along the beach, I found an unexpected message on my cell phone. An unknown number, a brief text. "We need to talk. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m. Usual place, M." My heart raced. Marcus. After 2 months of absolute silence, he was finally signaling communication. I barely slept that night, mentally rehearsing what I would say, how I would approach it, whether I should apologize or defend my choices. I arrived at the cafe half an hour early, nervous as a teenager on a first date. Marcus showed up punctually, too thin, with dark circles under his eyes, a testament to a sleepless night. He sat down, maintaining a physical and emotional distance. "Thank you for coming," he began formally, his voice carefully neutral. "Marcus, Let me speak first, please." He took a deep breath. "I've spent weeks processing everything. Vanessa's betrayal, your actions, my mistakes. I've seen 3 different therapists trying to understand how I was so blind." I remained silent, allowing him to express himself freely. "You were right, about everything. Vanessa was exactly the monster I suspected. I didn't listen because it was convenient not to listen. She made me feel powerful, important, in control, illusory, but seductive. "Son, but that doesn't justify how you acted. You deceived me too. You devised elaborate strategies without including me, treating me like a pawn incapable of making my own decisions. It was humiliating to discover that everyone knew the truth except me. I tried to warn you before. You cut me off. Because you never trusted me," he finally exploded. "Since forever, you decided everything. Where to study, which friends were appropriate, how to invest. You never let me grow independently. Vanessa exploited that. My desperation for autonomy. That hit me like a punch. Because he was right. I've always been controlling, justifying it as maternal protection, but smothering isn't protecting. You're right, I admitted with difficulty. I controlled too much, out of fear, out of misdirected love, out of not knowing how to let go. I didn't prepare you for the world, I isolated you in it." Marcus seemed surprised by the admission. It didn't expect you to. I recognize it because it's true. I failed as a mother in crucial ways. You needed wings, and I offered a gilded cage. A heavy silence hung between us. The waitress brought coffees that cooled untouched. "Where do we go now?" Marcus asked eventually, voice small. "I don't know. This needs to be your decision, not mine. For once, I'm not going to push a solution or path. You choose." Marcus was visibly uncomfortable with this sudden autonomy. My whole life had been paved with paths, decisions made for me. Now, faced with genuine freedom, I hesitated. "I need time," he finally said. "I'm not ready to forgive completely. But maybe we can rebuild something different. A relationship based on mutual respect, not dependence or control." "I'll accept any relationship you're willing to offer," I replied honestly. "Even if it's just occasional hookups, it's more than I deserve after all," he nodded slowly. "I'll be in touch. When I'm ready, please respect this space." "I will respect it, I promise." He stood to leave, hesitated, and then turned back. "One thing, Mom. Thank you for saving me from Vanessa. Even though I hate your methods, I recognize that she would have completely destroyed me without your intervention." Tears finally escaped. "I would do it all over again to protect you, but I would try to do things differently, communicate more, trust more. Maybe one day we can actually have that." He left, leaving fragile hope in the air. I returned to the mansion feeling slightly lighter. We weren't completely reconciled, but there was openness. A crack in the wall between us allowed light to filter through tentatively. Elizabeth was thrilled to hear that. "See, I told you he just needed time." Time and intense therapy, it seems. Be grateful he was. Many children never get over resentments like that. He was right. He needed to appreciate tiny progress instead of lamenting a lost relationship. Small steps were still movement forward. I immersed myself in personal projects I'd avoided for years. I returned to painting, a hobby I'd abandoned decades ago. I reinstalled my easel on the porch, letting the ocean inspire abstract canvases that process complex emotions. Raymond appeared one day with an unexpected update. "Ms. Tiana, there's been some interesting developments regarding Vanessa." "She's trapped. What development can there be?" Her defense attorney contacted Elizabeth offering a deal. Vanessa has information about major frauds and international money laundering schemes. Federal authorities are interested. And how does that affect us? Some of the schemes involve properties that she tried to associate with her wealth. If she testifies, it could implicate dangerous people who might retaliate against you. My blood ran cold. "Are you saying I'm in danger?" "Possibly. I recommend heightened security while investigations continue." Elizabeth confirmed the seriousness of the situation. "Vanessa has been involved with serious criminals. By exposing her, you inadvertently stirred up a bigger hornet's nest. We need to take precautions." We hired discreet private security, guards monitored the property, alarm systems were updated, and movements were tracked. I felt simultaneously protected and imprisoned. Worse still, I feared involving Marcus again. If criminals identified him as leverage against me, I'd be in danger too. I warned him via careful message, explaining the situation without over-dramatizing. He responded surprisingly quickly. "I'm safe, taking precautions. You take care too." Small but comforting. He cared enough to respond, to care about each other. Tense weeks followed. Federal investigations moved slowly, gradually arresting members of the criminal organization. Vanessa testified cooperatively, perhaps genuinely remorseful or simply saving her own skin. During this time, Marcus and I exchanged sporadic messages. Nothing deep, just check-ins. "How are you?" "Everything's fine here." But it kept the lines of communication open, a tenuous thread connecting us. One Sunday, he called, "Can I come over? I'd like to talk in person." "Of course. When?" "Today? Now?" Yes, come on." I prepared a hearty lunch, keeping my anxiety at bay. Marcus arrived looking better, less exhausted. We hugged briefly, the physical contact still awkward but meaningful. "The house looks different," he commented, looking around. I painted several canvases. I resumed old hobbies. "They look beautiful." He studied an abstract painting, a turbulent ocean in blues and grays. "This one reflects a lot of emotion." It was therapeutic to paint, processing feelings through art. We had lunch, chatting superficially about the weather, the news, and safe trivia. Only at coffee did Marcus broach the subject. I started dating someone. My heart sank, but I forced a smile. How wonderful. What does she look like? Actually, him. His name is Daniel. I met him in a support group for victims of abusive relationships. I processed quickly. "Are you gay?" He laughed nervously. "Bisexual, technically. I've always been, but I never fully explored it. You were so focused on grandchildren, traditional marriage. I never felt safe enough to come out." Another mistake of mine. I created an environment where my son hid fundamental parts of himself. "Marcus, I'm sorry you never felt comfortable sharing this. It wasn't entirely your fault. I was scared too. But Daniel is helping me accept all parts of myself. He's kind, patient, genuine. I'd like to meet you. Whenever you want." Marcus looked relieved. "Really, it won't be weird." "Why would it be? You're happy and safe. That's all that matters." The following weeks brought a gradual rapprochement. Marcus visited bi-weekly, sometimes with Daniel, a surprisingly charming pediatric therapist. He treated me with genuine respect, without any apparent ulterior motives. Slowly, I trusted that his intentions were honest. "Your mother is amazing," Daniel once commented, helping in the kitchen. Marcus talked a lot about conflict, but I only see a strong woman who fiercely protects the ones she loves. I protect, sometimes excessively. Love can be suffocating when poorly expressed, but never doubt that Marcus feels your love, even when resentful. Those words warmed something inside me. Perhaps complete reconciliation was possible eventually. Meanwhile, criminal investigations reached a climax. Vanessa testified in a federal trial against the organization's leaders. Her cooperation resulted in multiple convictions, dismantling a money laundering scheme involving billions. As a reward, he received a drastically reduced sentence. He would serve only 18 months, then be released on parole. Justice seemed insufficient considering the destruction caused, but at least major organizations were neutralized. Elizabeth assured me that Vanessa could never legally contact me. A permanent restraining order protected me from any contact. She would quietly disappear after serving her sentence. Problem solved. Or so we thought. 2 days before Vanessa's release, I received an anonymous call. A female voice electronically distorted. "Tiana, you think you've won, but the games aren't over yet. Vanessa was just a piece. The board is bigger. Who are you? Someone who loses a lot of money because of your interference. Be careful. Revenge comes when you least expect it." The connection was cut off abruptly. I immediately contacted Raymond and Elizabeth. Security was tripled, and investigations into possible threats were initiated. Could be a bluff, Raymond mused. Attempted intimidation with no real substance. Or it could be a genuine warning, Elizabeth countered. We can't risk that. Marcus was alarmed to hear this. Mom, maybe you should leave the mansion temporarily. Stay in a secret location until threats are assessed. Run away after everything I fought for. Surviving is not running away, it's strategy. He was right. I reluctantly agreed to move temporarily into the secure apartment Elizabeth maintained for threatened clients. Marcus and Daniel helped pack essentials. This is ridiculous, I grumbled, packing clothes, kicked out of her own home by anonymous criminals. Temporary, Daniel reassured, until the authorities decide. We spent 10 days in the safe apartment, small, claustrophobic, but secure. Marcus visited daily, making sure I was okay. Our relationship strengthened under adverse pressure. Raymond worked tirelessly to track down the source of the threat. He eventually discovered he wasn't a member of the criminal organization. He was Vanessa's unidentified accomplice, a partner in previous schemes who had escaped detection. Name, Ricardo Valente, Raymond revealed, showing photographs. He collaborated with Vanessa on multiple frauds. When she was arrested, he fled abroad. Now he's back, apparently seeking retaliation. Where is it? Whereabouts unknown, but we're monitoring his known contacts. He'll make a mistake eventually. 2 days later, a mistake happened. Ricardo tried to break into a coastal mansion, believing I was still there. Alarm systems immediately alerted authorities. He was caught trying to break into the office safe. He confessed everything, Elizabeth said with relief. He planned to kidnap you, demand a huge ransom. Frustrated when he discovered the house empty, he at least tried to steal valuables. Complete idiot. So it's over. Am I safe? Yes. Ricardo is in custody. Vanessa is released but is being strictly monitored. There are no further identifiable threats. I returned to the mansion, feeling a more complete victory. I had survived not only Vanessa, but entire ramifications of her criminality. I emerged not only intact, but strengthened. Marcus organized a celebratory dinner, inviting Elizabeth, Raymond, Daniel, and a few close friends. We toasted to survival, resilience, and a reconstituted family. Mom, Marcus said, raising his glass, you are the most stubborn, furious, and courageous woman I know. Thank you for never giving up. On us, on what's right, on fighting. Tears flowed freely. Thank you for forgiving me the chance to be a better mother. You were always a good mother, just human, making mistakes like everyone else, but always loving fiercely. We hugged for a long time, years of hurt finally dissolving. 6 months later, life returned to a surprising normalcy. Marcus and Daniel moved into a house near the mansion, visiting regularly. We established a healthy routine, weekly dinners, walks on the beach, genuine conversations without lingering resentments. Vanessa disappeared completely after completing her parole. Rumors suggested she'd moved to a distant country, rebuilding her life far from past mistakes. Honestly, I didn't care. She was a closed chapter, a definitively turned page. I focused on meaningful philanthropy, establishing a foundation to help victims of financial fraud. I used my experience to mentor others like Vanessa, who had been deceived by predators. Turning pain into purpose brought me deep satisfaction. One day, Marcus appeared beaming. Mom, we have news. Good or worrying? Excellent! Daniel and I are going to adopt a 3-year-old girl named Sophia. The process is almost complete. My heart burst with joy. I'm going to be a grandmother. Technically, it already is, but officially now it is. I cried, hugging them both. After so much turmoil, the family was expanding in wonderful ways. Meeting Sophia was instant love. A shy girl with huge eyes, she clung to Marcus at first, but gradually warmed up. When he finally called me Grandma, something fundamental healed inside me. "Grandma, the house is huge," she exclaimed, exploring the mansion. "Now it's yours too. It will always have a home here." Marcus watched with emotion. "Thank you for being amazing to her." "She's her granddaughter. Of course I'll be amazing." "No, thank you for being different with me. For learning, growing, changing. Without that, we would never have gotten here. You taught me that controlling isn't loving. Trusting is." We spent the afternoon playing on the beach with Sophia, building sandcastles that the waves would eventually wash away. A perfect metaphor. We build temporary things, but memories last forever. At night, after Sophia went to sleep, Marcus, Daniel, and I talked on the balcony under the bright stars. You know what I learned from all this?" Marcus reflected. "Material wealth means nothing without people to share it with. Vanessa wanted money thinking it would buy happiness, but this is what real wealth is, an imperfect but genuine family." "I completely agree," Daniel added. "You've weathered terrible storms but emerged stronger. It's inspiring." "It wasn't easy," I admitted. "There were times when I thought I'd lost Marcus irrevocably." "It was close," Marcus confessed. "My anger was immense. But therapy showed me that you acted out of twisted love, not malice, and eventually, true love prevailed. Your forgiveness is a gift I don't deserve, but I value infinitely. We all deserve forgiveness, Mother. You taught me that by finally letting go of control." We watched the ocean in comfortable silence. Waves crashed rhythmically, eternal, indifferent to human drama. I found peace in this perspective. Elizabeth visited the following week with final documents. Everything is absolutely secure now. No one can touch her assets without multiple authorizations, and Sophia has been included in the trust funds. She will have guaranteed financial security. Thank you, Elizabeth, for everything. You saved more than my wealth. You saved my dignity. It was an honor to work with a warrior like you. Raymond also formally said goodbye. My work is done. Ms. Tiana, all dangers have been neutralized. You are safe. You were essential. I wouldn't have won without your investigations. I just did my job. You did the hard work. Face painful truths and make tough decisions. Finally alone, I sat in my office contemplating everything that had happened. The journey had been brutal, almost destructive, but I emerged fundamentally transformed. I learned that protecting material assets is less important than protecting personal integrity and genuine relationships. I learned that control based on fear destroys, while trust based on respect builds. I learned that forgiveness is not a weakness, but a tremendous strength. Marcus called, interrupting my thoughts. Mom, Sophia wants to sleep at the mansion tonight. Can we? Of course, I'll prepare a guest room especially for her. She specifically requested the ocean view room. She says the waves sing her to sleep. Wise child. I've always thought so too. They arrived at dusk. Sophia ran around exploring excitedly, picking out shells on the beach. I made her favorite dinner, and then we snuggled up to watch an animated movie. Grandma, Sophia whispered sleepily. Yes, my dear. You are the best grandma in the world. My heart melted completely. And you're the best granddaughter in the universe. She fell asleep, snuggled up against me. Marcus discreetly photographed the moment. This is real treasure, he murmured. Not mansions or bank accounts. This right here. I completely agree. We laid Sophia down in the carefully prepared room. I kissed her forehead, silently thanking her for the second chance to do it right. Marcus and Daniel said goodbye at the door. We'll pick her up early tomorrow. Thanks for everything, Mom. Thank you for trusting me with her. After they left, I walked to the balcony, The full moon was a magnificent silvery ocean. A cool breeze carried salt and the promise of new beginnings. I thought about Vanessa briefly. Where was she? Did she regret her choices? Probably not. People like her rarely genuinely change, but she was no longer my concern. She belonged to the closed past. I thought about all the heritage so fiercely protected. Was the war worth it? Definitely. Not for the money itself, but for the principle. I refused to be a victim. I refused to allow predators to destroy decades of work. But the real victory wasn't financial, it was emotional. Winning Marcus back, gaining Daniel as an additional son, meeting Sophia and experiencing grandparental love. These were true riches, impossible to steal or defraud. I quietly entered, checking on Sophia, who was sleeping peacefully, the waves actually singing outside. I covered her with an extra blanket and kissed her forehead again. "Grandma will always protect you," I whispered, but in a different way. With love that strengthens, not suffocates. With trust that empowers, not controls. I finally lay down on my bed, exhausted but satisfied. The journey had been long, painful, almost destructive, but I survived. More than that, I emerged a better person. Last memory before sleep was final phone call with Marcus. His desperate voice yelled, "What? What the hell are you talking about?" when I revealed truth about properties. I smiled, remembering my triumphant response. "There's something you don't know. The property you negotiated was actually untouchable, legally protected. Impossible to sell or transfer without multiple authorizations that I would never grant Vanessa." That moment defined everything. The moment where I regained control, protected my legacy, and established non-negotiable boundaries. But I also learned that victory means nothing without love. Protecting my assets became meaningful only when I reconciled with Marcus, when the family was fundamentally rebuilt. The coastal mansion remained mine, but it was no longer an isolated fortress. It became a shared home, filled with laughter, memories, and genuine love. Vanessa tried to steal everything. She inadvertently forced me to reevaluate my real priorities. For that, strangely, I'm actually grateful. Without this terrible ordeal, I never would have necessarily grown. I finally fall asleep, peace-filling spaces previously occupied by resentment. Sophia sleeps safely in the next room. Marcus and Daniel build a close life. Elizabeth and Raymond secure legal protections. I won. Not just a legal battle, but a personal war against excessive control, paralyzing fear, and an inability to trust. The coastal mansion remains majestic, waves eternally crashing on the shore. But now it represents something different. No longer a symbol of isolated material achievements, but a sanctuary where an imperfect family found a way back to genuine love. And this, finally, is true wealth, impossible to steal, defraud, or destroy.